the longest first day in NFL draft history because of the longest first round in NFL draft history. And, well, guess what? We want to talk more about it. Jason Horowitz, alongside NFL.com's Pat Kirwan, and former NFL GM Charley Casserly. Guys, the band's back together. We're getting it back together. We're taking it
getting closer.
Yeah, what are we, 6 months away, 5 months away? Never break it down. Folks, we're not going to break down the winners. We're not going to break down the losers because you can't do that for at least a couple of years, 3 years. This segment, let's break down the minds of the general managers. You've both been in the front office. You were a GM. You were player personnel. Let's get into the minds of the GMs. Let's start with a trade that happened on day 2, not day 1. We'll get into Brady Quinn in a little bit, but day 2, Randy Moss goes to New England for a 4th-round pick. Charlie, why is Randy Moss, in a GM's eyes, on a draft day, only worth a 4th-round pick?
Well, usually a hard day to trade players is on the draft day because teams really value those picks. They fall in love with players. They don't want to trade it. Now, Randy Moss, you got to go back to last fall. They were trying to trade him for a 2nd-round pick. They couldn't get it. 3rd-round pick, they couldn't get it. Why is he worth only a 4th? Because only one team was interested. Why is it a 4th-round pick? Because the arrow right now seems to be pointing down in his career because of lack of speed, and there's always been an attitude question with him.
Yeah, whether he wants to play. You saw it on the graphic. I mean, he had 11 touchdowns in 2 years in Oakland, where he averaged nearly 13 a year in Minnesota. Having said that, though, on Oakland's side here in the front office, if they knew they were going to trade Randy Moss, which you have to assume they knew they were going to trade Randy Moss, is it the right decision, in hindsight, to get Jamarcus Russell as opposed to the guy that everyone thinks is a guarantee in Calvin Johnson?
Well, yeah, I think, first off, I don't think that had anything to do with it. I thought for sure they were going to go and get Josh McCown in a draft trade, no matter what, and the intent was to play this guy. I think Al Davis had a couple of issues on his mind. He passed on Phillip Rivers. He passed on Matt Leinart. He passed on Ben Roethlisberger. He passed on Jay Cutler. No more passing on quarterbacks. He was going to take this quarterback, and after the bowl game, and he saw the deep ball stuff, he's taking him. Doesn't want to put him on the field right away. That's why McCown was a draft day trade.
And getting Josh McCown and Mike Williams also for a 4th-round pick that the Lions took a cornerback with. Having said that, let's go to the other quarterback who fell, and that's Brady Quinn. And on a draft day, Charlie, let's go back into the war room, back into the mind of a general manager. Phil Savage is sitting with Cleveland here. They see Brady Quinn falling. Take us through what's going on in the Cleveland war room as they're about to trade to get Brady Quinn.
We have to start with the fact that they almost took Brady Quinn at the 3rd pick. They elected to go with Joe Thomas, but Brady Quinn was still in the back of their minds. They never, ever expected to be in this position. Now Brady Quinn gets into the 10th, 12th pick. Hey, we're going to try up and get him. And they keep trying and trying. And what happens is you'll call a team and they'll say, well, if our guy's not there, then we'll talk to you. Well, their guy is there. So now it goes 2 or 3, 4 picks. And then somebody says, well, we'll call you back. Basically, you're hanging on each team. Is their guy there or not there? And then what do you give up? You don't start with next year's number 1 in the deal. You start with something else, a 2, a 3, and a 4. Finally, you realize, hey, we got to give up the 1 for next year. And you know what? If he's the right guy for your franchise, you got to make the move. Not only do you get him a lot less expensive now than you would with the 3rd pick in the draft.
You know, it's interesting when talking about Brady Quinn. The fan base didn't really want him to come to Cleveland as the 3rd pick. But when he came as the pick where he did, the whole city has embraced him. I've been taking phone calls all day. They're excited about him. And I said to Brady, I talked to Brady right after the pick. I said, you're a lucky guy because the fan base is going to open their arms and give you a fighting chance. Cleveland's so frustrated about their losing over the long period of time. He needs that fighting chance.
By the way, in case you're not familiar with what Pat does on draft day, what was it, 21 hours of radio?
21 hours straight of live radio.
You know, people question whether Cleveland may have given up too much for Brady Quinn, and once again, we won't know that for a couple of years because if he pans out, no way they gave up too much for him. Nobody's questioning what San Francisco did, trading its 1st-round pick to get Joe Staley from the New England Patriots at 28. But then later on in the day, getting a 1st-round pick back by trading down with Indianapolis. Charlie, break down what's going through San Francisco's war room.
Well, the first thing is I don't think I ever have seen this happen before, where you've traded a future 1 to get a player, and then you're able to get that future 1 back in the same draft. I mean, that's lucky now. When you do that, hey, you're hustling, you're on the phone, but that's darn luck when you get that. Great move by San Francisco. Got a player they wanted. They're still in the 1st round next year.
What about Darrell Jackson? This has got to be a team that believes we're going to win now if they're going to go out and get all these
we both talked to Mike Nolan today about this, and it's always a little strange when you see a guy traded in a division. And a lot of people thought Darrell's injuries would preclude anyone wanting him. But Mike told me that the doctors felt he's ready to go. They've watched this player so many times. You know your division opponent's so much better, and they like his leadership and his savvy behavior. And they think he's got enough left in his tank, otherwise they don't make the deal. So a lot of times on draft days, your doctors are the most important people in the room because they'll help you and encourage you to pull the trigger.
Minnesota would say the same thing with Adrian Peterson. Miami with Ted Ginn Jr. Everybody would say the same thing. I completely agree with you. All right, folks, there you have it. The NFL Draft Recap delivered by FedEx. Teams back together, and we will be once again this fall to break down, well, what all these players actually do on the field. For Pat Kirwan and Charley Casserly, I'm Jason Horowitz. Enjoy the stuff here on the website. Take care.